Tonight, what the federal budget means for your budget. A promise to make life more affordable for Canadians struggling with inflation, but does it deliver?
I'm going to say it's better than nothing, but then again, it's not enough.
Plus, At Issue is standing by. Her son was killed by a stranger at a subway station.
I was told they were laughing and they were talking. They didn't see this guy coming.
Now she's sharing her memories and her powerful message.
You're looking out for the next parent.
Exactly.
And the concern over so many Americans looking to Canada for a popular diabetes drug.
I was quite shocked that we're not keeping our supplies here.
This is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
The federal government is laying out its spending plans just as so many Canadians are feeling under financial pressure themselves. Along with billions of dollars for health and dental care, there's a focus on supporting and promoting clean technology. Some Canadians looking for help with the rising cost of essentials will get it, but not all, and many in need say this is not enough. Ashley Burke takes us through how your money is being spent.
This budget is the finance minister's response to what she calls a turning point in history.
The most significant economic transformation since the Industrial Revolution.
European countries and the U.S. are driving the green economy revolution.
Our allies are moving quickly to friendshore their economies and build their critical supply chains through democracies like our own.
So Canada is now moving toward a low-carbon economy. The budget includes $21 billion in new measures over the next 5 years. The bulk of that for a suite of tax credits designed to get companies investing in green technology and boost the country's power grid.
We're going to be focusing on great jobs for the middle class.
The other big focus, healthcare. More money already announced for transfers to provinces and territories, and a steep price tag revealed for a national dental care plan. $13 billion over 5 years.
By the end of 2023, we will begin rolling out a dental care plan that will eventually cover up to 9 million uninsured Canadians.
When it comes to the cost of living, there isn't a big investment. One measure is what the government is calling a grocery rebate for low-income families. The opposition says it's not nearly enough.
There's nothing that will help with affordability.
The budget projects a deficit higher than initially forecast, $40 billion this year. The deficit decreases over the next 4 years, but there's no longer a pathway to a balanced budget, partly because of a slowing economy and the government's new multi-billion-dollar plans. The Conservatives call it a spending bonanza.
A full frontal attack on the paychecks of hardworking Canadians. It equals $4,200 per family in new government spending. That's more inflation, more taxes, and more costs for everyday people.
The government plans to save money by cutting departmental costs and scaling back on consultants.
We'll be supporting the budget.
The NDP claiming the budget as a victory.
We're proud that we've been able to force this government to deliver things. And let me be very clear, there would not have been dental care in this budget but for New Democrats.
So Ashley, those were some of the government's key priorities. What else stood out in the budget for you?
Well, Adrian, one of the things that stood out is money set aside to address foreign interference. The government has been intensely criticized for not addressing the problem a long time ago. The Prime Minister has been under scrutiny for weeks over his handling of election meddling attempts by China, and the budget today includes almost $50 million for the RCMP to ramp up investigations to help people facing harassment and intimidation. Now, that's something that Chinese-Canadian activists say they face from Beijing. There's also $13 million set aside for a new agency to counter foreign interference.
All right, Ashley Burke in Ottawa, thank you. Now, you just heard one of the priorities of the budget was to provide some Canadians with some relief from inflation. But as Nisha Patel shows us now, when it comes to keeping more money in your pocket, the reviews are mixed.
And then you're going to put them inside.
When Crystal Kisman unloads her groceries,
Do you have more in there? I got the carrot.
She's paying more and getting less.
Oh, it's crazy. I remember I used to spend $200 for every 2 weeks, and I would get double. You could put more there.
As a single mom, putting food on the table is a daily struggle, especially fresh items like 4-year-old Michael's favorite, strawberries.
One time, they were like $7.99, but he cried so bad, I was like, okay, I'll get him this one time, but it's not like every time I can get him what he wants.
Now a temporary boost to GST credit payments for some low-income Canadians is being billed as a grocery rebate to relieve stretched budgets. The government will spend $2.5 billion to help 11 million households. Single Canadians and seniors can receive upwards of $200. Families with children about double that.
I'm going to say it's better than nothing, but then again, it's not enough.
With the rising costs, it's not going to make a huge difference, definitely not.
When it comes to direct benefits to Canadians, that's about it. And last year's supplement for low-income renters will not be renewed. Although a previously announced new first-time homebuyers account will come into effect. But experts say as Canada's population hits new records, there still isn't enough new affordable housing.
We could have promised to build more affordable rental housing in specific, not just housing in general, but affordable rental housing. As we pour over 1.5 million people into our economy every year.
We already have this.
For Kissman, from food to rent, the bills keep piling up.
So I try to look in the positive, but I don't know what the future holds.
The budget did include action against payday lenders, cracking down so they can't charge painfully high interest rates, as well as a pilot project for free automatic tax returns for low-income Canadians. Some small changes that could make a difference. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Ottawa.
Let's bring in our chief political correspondent, Rosemary Barton. So, Rosie, we have the details, but let's talk a little bit about what's behind this budget politically.
Yeah, I mean, that's where things get a bit interesting, Adrienne. In many ways, this is the budget that had to happen in order to keep NDP support and, of course, avoid an election. That massive investment in the dental plan expansion, that's part of that agreement that both parties struck to work together on some key policy issues. The one-time grocery rebate, that's also very much in response to pressure from the NDP. So the Liberals have managed to buy that support short-term with those two items. The clean energy investment, that's something else. That's responding to something different, the global economy, if you will. But all of this comes at a significant cost. And given the state of the economy, which is softer, I think, than anticipated, that's fair to say, it means there's not a lot of room here if things go off the rails in the months to come. And that makes it awfully difficult for this government to claim that it is practicing fiscal restraint. But overall, this budget that focuses on a few big priorities buys the government some time in hopes the economy improves next year as we get ever closer to a possible election.
All right, Rosie Barton in Ottawa, thank you.
Thanks.
And Rosie will be back in about half an hour with these folks for a special Budget Day edition of At Issue. We are learning more tonight about the man accused of murdering a teenager at a Toronto subway station this weekend. It's the latest deadly attack on the system that's left many riders on edge. Thomas Degla takes us through what we know tonight.
With Toronto transit riders again shaken by violence, some are now extra careful.
Now I try to ride with caution, I try to look out for myself.
When turns coming, I usually look around and then even behind me sometimes.
Circumstances surrounding a recent deadly attack coming as a shock to many as new details come to light. At a subway station on Saturday, police say 16-year-old Gabriel McGallis was sitting on a bench when a stranger approached him unprovoked, then stabbed and killed him. Court documents obtained by CBC News show the man, now charged with first-degree murder, was on probation at the time. Jordan O'Brien Tobin was found guilty last spring of assault and uttering threats. He was homeless and faced multiple criminal charges over the past 2 years. He's also wanted on a warrant in Newfoundland and Labrador. Ontario Premier Doug Ford says that can't be allowed to happen.
But enough's enough. When we arrest these criminals, they need to go to jail, and they need to go to jail for a long time.
Toronto Transit has seen a wave of violence in recent months, including swarmings and beatings. The fatal stabbing of a woman 3 months ago. Last summer, a woman died after being set on fire. Toronto police had boosted its presence on the TTC by dozens of officers. That ended 2 weeks ago. Now the TTC says it's introducing better de-escalation training for staff and more mental health support for those in crisis.
We are grappling as a city with folks who have mental health challenges, substance abuse.
Ahead of the upcoming mayoral campaign, would-be candidates are signaling transit safety will be a priority.
We have to ensure that people feel safe.
The makeshift memorial for Gabriel McIntosh keeps growing, as are demands to prevent more senseless violence. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Toronto.
Among the voices making those demands is Gabriel McIntosh's mother. She told me she doesn't want sympathetic words from politicians. She wants them to do something.
When they want votes, they promise everything. But how about action? How about what really needs to be done? So empty words make me mad.
We spoke about that anger, her grief, and the changes she's now calling for. We'll have that conversation in a few minutes. There is also grief in Quebec tonight after a 20-year veteran with the provincial police was killed while trying to make an arrest. She is the 8th Canadian officer killed in the line of duty in just 6 months. Sarah Levitt takes us through what we know.
It was meant to be a routine arrest, but it quickly turned deadly. Police say 2 officers were confronted by a suspect with a knife. As his rights were being read, the suspect stabbed one of the officers and she fell from the second-floor balcony to the sidewalk below. 2 other officers then arrived on the scene. Stéphane Caron lives in the same building as the suspect and says he heard 4 gunshots. Police confirm officers fired and the suspect was killed. They now identify 42-year-old Maureen Brault as the fallen officer.
She is the mother of 2 children, and also his husband is also a police officer from the Sûreté Quebec.
The suspect was known to police. On 3 separate occasions, 35-year-old Isaac Brouillard-Lessard was found not criminally responsible for assault. He was on probation after receiving a conditional discharge for another assault charge. Brault's killing came on the same day Edmonton police gathered to remember 2 of their own. 8 officers have now been killed in the line of duty in the last 6 months. That's more than 2019 to 2021 combined.
This is an onslaught and certainly a wave of attacks on police. Are police going to continue to do everything, including serve as mental health liaisons? I mean, this is a public health issue.
Public Safety Minister Marco Mendicino calls the situation unprecedented.
We have to continue to find ways to support law enforcement in the way that they're doing their work to keep our community safe, particularly the families who are left to grieve without their loved ones.
Families like Brault's husband and 2 kids left asking how something like this could have happened. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Louisville, Quebec.
Police in the U.S. have released new video of their response to a deadly school shooting in Nashville yesterday. Well, we won't show you the most disturbing moments. Katie Simpson walks us through parts of the footage, as well as what investigators have now revealed about the suspect.
The frantic moments of the first response captured on police body camera. Officer Rex Engelbert, one of the first on scene, gears up and heads toward danger.
Kids are all locked down, but we have 2 kids that we don't know where they are.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
As he gets closer to the entrance, he's given a key to unlock the door.
Let's go!
And pushes in with several officers as the fire alarm blares.
Metro Police!
In the chaos, there are all kinds of reminders this is a space for little kids. It would take another 2 minutes for officers to find and kill Audrey Hale. The suspect, police say, had extensively planned this attack that left 3 adults and 3 children dead.
Audrey bought 7 firearms from 5 different local gun stores here legally.
Hale kept the guns a secret, according to police. Investigators were told by Hale's parents they did not think their child should own weapons.
She was under care, doctor's care, for an emotional disorder.
While no motive has been made public, police say Hale mapped out the school's security features, shooting through a glass door to enter the building. Now, outside the school, signs of grief, a familiar part of the ritual in communities enduring this familiar tragedy.
I can't stop thinking about the parents who woke up today and the families who woke up today with an empty bed.
9-year-old Evelyn Dykehouse's family says their hearts are completely broken. Haley Scruggs was the daughter of the church's lead pastor. Custodian Mike Hill was a father of 7. And Catherine Kuntz, the head of the school, is being remembered for her sense of humor. Flags all over the country have been lowered, the president saying only Congress can ban assault weapons.
I have gone the full extent of my executive authority to do on my own anything about guns.
This divided Congress is not realistically going to pass an assault weapons ban. In the days ahead, the calls for change will likely dwindle, only to be revived after the next mass shooting. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
Investigators in Calgary now say natural gas was likely to blame for an explosion that tore apart a home yesterday. But the fire chief says other possibilities will have to be ruled out in an investigation that could take weeks. 10 adults were seriously injured in the blast, and today a neighbor who heard the explosion showed CBC News how her home was hit.
When I opened the door, I seen everything on the sky flying. So I was shocked. I thought it's a tornado or something, you know what I mean?
She said a number of people seemed to live in the home along with the owner. British Columbia is going to limit access to a popular diabetes drug. The province says it has to because too much of the drug is going to American patients. Lindsay Duncombe takes us through the concerns and the crackdown.
Colin Taylor has type 2 diabetes. He takes the drug Ozempic to control his blood sugar. Supply is tight, and he just learned American patients are part of the problem.
I was quite shocked that we're not keeping our supplies here. We're shipping them down across the line, and it's affecting us.
BC now says it will move to restrict access of Ozempic to out-of-country patients.
Currently, we don't have a shortage of Ozempic, but the trend is in that direction, and action is required.
In the first 2 months of the year, more than 15,000 Ozempic prescriptions went from BC to the United States. That's more than 15% of all scripts written for the drug. The average American demand for BC drugs is just 0.5%.
This is concerning, and in my view, it has to stop.
In my Ozempic trial. The company behind the drug is aggressively marketing Ozempic on both sides of the border. For diabetes, sure, but the American ads don't shy away from the weight loss side effect.
And you may lose weight. Adults lost up to 14 pounds.
Hollywood is buzzing with reports of who may have dropped sizes thanks to Ozempic or similar drugs.
Follow up about Ozempic.
And influencers are pushing it. BC says American patients are reaching out online. Almost all the prescriptions were written in Nova Scotia, then submitted to 2 pharmacies based in Metro Vancouver, where the drugs are processed and shipped south.
Cross-border online pharmacies aren't illegal, but they are subject to regulation. The province of Nova Scotia, the drug manufacturer, pharmacists and doctors all promise to work with BC to ensure enough supply stays here. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Vancouver.
More protests, more violence in France tonight with a nationwide demonstration now stretching into a 10th day. The demonstrations that are showing no signs of letting up. Next. A city on edge over rising transit violence that's now taken the life of a teenage boy.
What is it that you need from a conversation?
I am partly doing this for Gabriel, but really I'm doing it for the one word change.
A mother's grief and her demands for action. And how a little girl prevented a devastating fire from being so much worse.
I ran upstairs and I grabbed both of my siblings and my 2 animals.
A life-saving moment. We're back in 2. This woman's husband is among the dozens injured in a devastating fire in Mexico. At least 40 people were killed after flames tore through a migrant detention center near the U.S. border. The Mexican president says the fire started after some migrants had set fire to mattresses to protest their deportation. There's a tense standoff tonight on the streets of France between protesters and authorities. Hundreds of thousands demonstrated against controversial pension reforms for a 10th day. And as Chris Brown shows us, not all of it was peaceful.
Paris stinks of burning garbage mixed with tear gas, as yet again what started off as peaceful demonstrations degenerated into nasty confrontations with police. Those dressed all in black were mostly troublemakers looking for a fight. Not the peaceful, noisy union members and their supporters who paraded through the city a few hours earlier, trying to force the French government to repeal its pension changes. Those changes would make people work 2 extra years until they're 64 before they can start collecting.
I can be psychologist until 64. It's crazy. It's a very hard job, you know.
But while pensions may have triggered this backlash, the anti-government sentiment has now evolved into much broader complaints.
A lot of my friends are having burnouts and everything. We are working for less money than our parents. We are not sure that we can afford to have children and everything. And we are angry about this.
In a country famous for starting revolutions, this could be the beginning of another, one that changes work-life balance, says this expert.
Work has been a big issue. Reorganizing work so that the life, the personal life can have a bigger place. I think we have our noisy way to say there is a revolution going on at work.
The pension legislation has already been approved by Parliament, however, and President Emmanuel Macron has not indicated he's open to reconsidering it. The unions say they will not relent either, and they're calling for yet another day of protests across France in the first week of April.
The government might have hoped that all the burning garbage, the violence, and scenes like this with thousands of riot police might have turned public opinion against the protests. But there's no sign that's happening.
The demonstrations have caused severe disruptions, closing schools, tourist attractions, transportation hubs, and countless businesses, as both sides try to exhaust the other into capitulating. Chris Brown, CBC News, Paris.
There are multiple reports out of the U.S. tonight that former Vice President Mike Pence will have to testify to a grand jury about the January 6th riots. The ruling, which is under seal, reportedly states that Pence has to answer questions about the conversations he had with Donald Trump in the lead up to the attack on the Capitol, but he can decline to answer questions about the events on the day itself. Pence can still appeal the decision. The conversation about transit safety in this country is taking on new urgency after a 16-year-old Toronto teen was stabbed to death over the weekend.
It was, a beautiful, quiet, shy boy, but he had dreams. He had goals.
Coming up, a mother facing the unthinkable, the despair and rage that's driving her to speak out. As Canadians struggle with the high cost of living, a federal budget with some new affordability measures.
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Rosie and the At Issue panel will be here. The National takes you deeper into the story shaping our world. Next. This is a growing memorial in Toronto for Gabriel Magalhaes. The 16-year-old died after being stabbed at a subway station Saturday night in what police call an unprovoked attack. Gabriel's mother, Andrea, is a neonatal intensive care nurse. She knows stress and pain and loss, but her son's senseless death has put her in a swirling limbo of rage and sadness, exhaustion, shock, confusion, disbelief, and 100 other emotions, sometimes all at once. She described it to me as feeling like she's a time bomb. So to listen to her, to imagine her agony, it's jarring. Andrea, thank you. How are you managing?
I'm trying to manage. I have Lucas, my 15-year-old. Yeah. So he's the main reason I'm here. I think he's the reason I can still breathe, even though So often it's like impossible to breathe. Sometimes I'm just desperate. Like sometimes I just want to bury myself and like sleep and not wake up. I'm sorry if it's too much, but it's the truth.
I don't think anybody can imagine what you're going through. I mean, there are parents who have been through this hell, but people all over this country are worried about you. Why do you want to talk to us?
I am partly doing this for Gabriel, but really I'm doing it for change, for the one word change.
What is it that you need from a conversation?
We need to start talking about violence, the root causes of violence. I know it comes down to the social determinants of health. It's not an easy solution. We're not talking about adding more police force. I'm not talking about locking people up. We're talking about what are the root causes? Why is this happening? Why is a person homeless? Why is a person not being able to access care, access supports? This is a first world country. I came from a third world country, a very violent country, Brazil. Why did I move away? I wanted a better life. I see the violence escalating. I read about horrible things that happen on the TTC. I feel deeply when I hear those things, but you never think it's going to happen to you. And I think that's the message I would like people to try to put themselves in my shoes, in my husband's shoes.
Is there something you want to show me about this beautiful book of yours?
This is the day that Gabriel was born. Chubby,
Very, look at those arms.
I know. I love that picture. And just, there was another one. Hold on, let me find it. I wanted so badly to become a mother. It was my lifelong dream of having a family. It was, you know, a beautiful, quiet, shy boy, but he had dreams. He had goals. He had challenges. Was he perfect? No. Did he get only straight A's? No. Did he try? Was he like the person that I saw trying the hardest? Yes.
When you talk about the root causes, we've learned today a little bit more about the suspect. In and out of jail, in and out of courts. He has what appears to be a long record of sorts, in addition to being unhoused or homeless. Does any of that change anything for you?
Okay, I'm a nurse. I had a clinical placement in mental health hospitals. We, like as a society, I find we love to blame one person. We blame the individual. Sometimes we even say you blame the victim. And we like to put all the responsibility on one person and say it is your fault. You picked up that knife. But could this have been prevented somehow from the beginning? How was this person, were they going to school? Did they have supports? Did they have a home? I don't know. I don't know anything. I cannot speak for this person.
There are families all over the city who are having conversations with their kids, hey, if you're heading out on the TTC, be careful,
Yeah, and we talk like, be careful, like from a very young age, when they used to take the subway with me, I would teach them, always sit where you have that little button that in case of emergency, you can get help. And about being aware of your surroundings. I was told they were laughing and they were talking. He didn't see this guy coming. If he had seen the guy coming, would he have been able to defend himself? I don't know. But should he be in that position? Should anybody be in that position? So are we expected as citizens to always watch our backs? To not trust anybody?
I can't even imagine. And as you say that, I think about the politicians who offer their support.
That is the time that I get angry. I'm going through phases, but that makes me angry, so angry, because when they want votes, they promise everything. But how about action? How about what really needs to be done? So empty words make me mad.
All those parents who don't know you, though, who have dining room tables like this one, and then know that tomorrow morning or this coming weekend, their little guys are going to get on the subway too. What do you say to them?
Don't live with fear. I don't want to hide in my house. I don't want my kids to hide at home. But can't we please get people to listen? Can we make effective change so we can all go outside and be able to breathe and feel safe? I feel like this is still an amazing city. We can do better. I want to stay here where my baby was born. I want to stay here for Lucas, but I would love to feel safer.
Of course, right?
She's an amazing mom. One thing I want to mention, that gray sweater Andrea was wearing, it was Gabriel's. Andrea said it still smells like him, so she wanted to wear it. She may well wear it again this Thursday at a vigil planned in Toronto's High Park, one of her family's favorite places to visit together. After the break, Rosie's here with that issue. Hello, you.
Hi, Adrian. Tonight, we're obviously going to talk about the federal budget unveiled by the government. What's to be made of the push for clean energy tech? And will the feds ease the financial burden on Canadians? Chantal, Althea, and Andrew join me for a special Tuesday at Issue. Hi there, I'm Rosemary Barton. Welcome to a special budget edition of At Issue.
By exercising fiscal restraint, we're ensuring that we can continue to invest in Canadians and in the Canadian economy for years to come, just as we have done since 2015. Because we know that investments in Canadians are also investments in our economy.
Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland says this budget is about fiscal restraint, but it's also a plan to help Canadians with affordability and invest in clean energy as a response to efforts in the U.S. The NDP is taking credit for both the expansion of dental care and the grocery rebate, guaranteeing their support.
I'm really proud that we were able to force this government to expand dental care. There's things that we're not satisfied by, but we're very proud of the work that we've been able to do.
The Conservatives say there's too much spending and not enough relief for Canadians, and not surprisingly, they will not support it.
This is an attack on the hardworking people of this country, and that is why Conservatives will be voting no. Instead,
all right, let's bring in At Issue on this Tuesday edition. Chantal Hébert, Andrew Coyne, and Althea Raj. Good to see you all. Chantal, I'll start with you. Do you think this budget does show the fiscal restraint that Chrystia Freeland claims?
Well, I've been looking for it. My colleagues who went in the lockup might have found it, but it's really hard to convince the average Canadian that was told last fall that the deficit would fall to a certain amount and then to zero, and that today it's up by 10 billion and will not for the foreseeable future fall to zero, that there's a lot of fiscal restraint in there.
And so the colleagues that were in the lockup, Althea and Andrew, I'll start with you, Althea. Any signs of that did you see?
Very, very little. And so in that way, this budget doesn't not match the rhetoric at all from last year's budget, where she tried to put that forward. There's a line item where the government is going to spend less on consultants, on professional services from outside, and on travel from the public service. That's about $7 billion. Then they're going to do a program review. So that's it, basically. So there's really not much belt tightening at all in this budget. Chantal is absolutely right. They have given up any pretext of talking about a return to balance. We're not seeing that at all. This is a very big spending budget and a very worrisome budget if you're worried about debt service payments crowding out the ability to pay for new services. In 5 years, $50 billion will be spent servicing the debt. That's more than what was spent to boost healthcare payments to the provinces. So it's consequential.
Andrew?
It's a little bit insulting to the intelligence to talk about fiscal restraint in terms of we're buying fewer paper clips when you look at the actual spending track laid out in this budget versus just a year ago. So 12 months ago, they issue a set of projections for the next 5 years. You compare them to the projections in this budget. In every year, on average, spending is about $20 billion more on program spending, more than just was projected last year, plus another $8 billion every year in additional interest costs on that debt. And all of this money is borrowed. So no, this is not a fiscal restraint budget. I'm glad to see people are acknowledging it this time, because of course the trick they've played year after year is you issue that forecast with spending in the forecast range growing at 2 or 3% per year or less, and everyone goes, oh, well, that looks pretty restrained. It's just that every year the whole curve shifts up a few $1 billion. Right. And in this case, it's shifted up by more than $20 billion a year on program spending.
So let's talk about the politics then. Why did why was the notion of fiscal restraint important politically, Chantal, and why did it not happen for the same political or different political reasons?
Opposite political necessities that the government is faced with. The first is that the majority of Canadians are telling pollsters that they don't believe that the Liberals are good fiscal managers, that they manage the economy well. And so I think Chrystia Freeland's preferred headline would have been the one she tried to force today. This is a disciplined budget on the fiscal front. But the other political necessity is to keep the NDP happy. And to keep the NDP happy, they needed a budget that Jagmeet Singh could, as he did, brag about. Literally putting himself in the role of co-author, which I think he deserves in this case, getting dental care, as this subsidy for groceries, taking credit for all of that. But if that's what you need to stay in government, then you cannot at the same time hope for headlines that say that you were fiscally disciplined. Bottom line, if anyone believed the Liberals wanted an election this year, no. They desperately did not want one.
That's probably a good takeaway. Althea?
I would say it's not just about pleasing the NDP, though. In some ways, it's about making sure that this is not a government that will be blamed for massive job losses in manufacturing. So much of this budget is really directed at addressing the threat that poses the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act, a massive piece of legislation that was passed last August. That at the time we were told was worth about $390 billion in subsidies to clean tech. And that was going to be a big threat for manufacturers here, especially in the automobile industry, for example. And we had to match a certain level of subsidies that was being on offer in the U.S. And now we know that actually the subsidies in the U.S. are worth a lot more than we originally thought, possibly as high as $1.2 trillion, which is a huge amount of money. And we are doing something to try to play in that game. And it's also not just the U.S. Europe is doing something similar with their Green New Deal. And so there is going to be so much public spending to private companies to help, achieve that net zero by 2050, but also to ensure that there are jobs. The jobs of the future are here, but also the jobs that are currently here stay here. And that's the big part of the budget. Like in some ways, it's like that is on top of a normal budget because it's still a big spending budget.
Yeah. So, Andrew, I know you don't like a subsidy per se, but what is the option for a government when they see the United States and Europe doing these kinds of things and they want to try and remain competitive? Like, did they have a choice in this or no? Yeah.
There are two different ways of trying to remain competitive. One is to make yourself competitive generally across the board, getting tax rates down, being more receptive to foreign investment, liberalizing your markets, making them more competitive. There's all kinds of things you can do on that front that don't involve saying, God has decreed that we must be in the electric battery industry. Because for all the supposed pragmatism of people who say we have to subsidize these industries. They'll say, be practical, we have to subsidize these industries. What they really have said is it's an a priori certainty that that is an industry of the future, that is the industry that Canada has comparative advantage in, et cetera, et cetera. And that's not the case. What is actually achieved by ladling out all these subsidies, it isn't that we win that battle. We just get ourselves basically the right to go on subsidizing. What I fear greatly we're doing with these industries now is creating permanent subsidy sinkholes where we have to keep on subsidizing them year after year after year to quote unquote keep them in the game with the U.S. willingness to subsidize them year after year after year. And of course, the U.S. has much deeper pockets than we do. So if any country's going to run out of money first, it's not going to be them.
Yeah, to Althea's point. But there's politics involved in that too, Chantal, like for the government to contrast itself against the Conservatives who do not believe in, I don't know if they believe in this kind of spending, but they certainly have issues around the way the government approaches clean energy.
Yes, and the Conservatives, up to a point, have a rhetoric that runs counter to what their allies, their Conservative allies, are actually doing. I'm sure Premier Ford in Ontario likes this budget, and I'm convinced many other premiers will like it. Why? Because it allows them to create jobs, to make those announcements that make governments, provincial governments, look good at the expense of the federal government. And for the Conservatives to say they don't like this is one thing, but at some point they're going to have to answer the other question. So you would go to balanced deficits, balanced books, you would cut taxes. What programs would you cut, and how many jobs would you lose in the process? And that is the trap that is hidden in this budget politically.
20 seconds to Althea and Andrew. Althea?
Well, one of the measures that is in this budget is the government basically wants to tie the hands of a future government by guaranteeing businesses a price on carbon. And so if a new government comes in, a Conservative government that doesn't believe in a price on carbon, those companies would have to be financially compensated. And I frankly do wonder if Pierre Poilievre is actually thankful for such a measure, because it would give him an out.
Andrew?
Well, the other approach he could take would be to lay out his own growth agenda. If the government is not going to bring forward a serious agenda for promoting economic growth, that's something the Conservatives could do in opposition. And while they're usually loath to put out their own policies, in this case, it might be a way of getting out of that trap that Chantal mentioned.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate you coming in on a Tuesday. I'll see you on Thursday. Now I'll send things back to Adrienne, and she's in Toronto.
And thank you, Rosie. Coming up, when she saw the flames, a young hero jumped into action.
And I said, "What's going on?" And she's like, "Fire. It's getting bigger."
How a 12-year-old girl saved her siblings in our moment.
Oh no.
Just listening to her, you can almost feel that pain. That is, of course, Canadian tennis star Bianca Andreescu suffering an ankle injury at the Miami Open. It forced the 22-year-old to withdraw from the tournament. Andreescu has since described the injury as the worst pain she's ever felt. She also says her ankle is now in a brace. She's waiting on the official test results. We wish her well.
This is all summer McIntosh and lane 4 world record!
This, of course, is better sporting news. 16-year-old Summer McIntosh set a new women's world record in the 400-meter freestyle tonight. The swimming phenom beat the previous mark by about 0.3 of a second. She was racing at the Canadian Swimming Trials in Toronto, competing for a spot to represent the country at the next World Championships. Now, these are broken photos of the Neufeld children. They were found in the wreckage after a devastating house fire in Manitoba earlier this month. So all 3 kids escaped unharmed thanks to the quick thinking of 12-year-old Emily, who took decisive action to save her brothers. Her courage is our moment.
I said, "Get out, there's a fire."
I work every Thursday, and Emily babysits her brothers after school for about half an hour until Andy gets home from work.
One of my chores was do laundry, so I was about to go downstairs when I smelled something weird. So then I went down, and I saw my entire bathroom was like already engaged in fire. So I ran upstairs and I grabbed both of my siblings and my 2 animals and went out and called 911 right away.
I get another phone call from her, and I said, "What's going on?" And she's like, "Fire. It's getting bigger." I was shaking. I was legit worst nightmare. I can't even describe it. Her taking that babysitter's course, she knew exactly what to do. She grabbed her brothers, she grabbed her animals, and she ran right outside. No shoes, no jacket, nothing on. That literally saved their lives. Saved their lives.
When I took the babysitting course, they taught me about like how to get your siblings out, not to worry about your stuff, just to worry about lives, because lives matter more than things.
Wow. So there are a lot of terrible things in the world. There are a lot of terrible people. Emily, you are extraordinary. We're so glad you took that course. The small community they're from is doing everything they can to get them back on their feet again. That is the National for March 28th. Thank you for being with us. Have a good night.